Hey everyone, I'm Charting Man Dan with the Chart Guys, trader and technical analyst for the last 14 years. We're going to check in on psychedelic and cannabis stocks. We have some fundamental reasons for some volume, and with that volume, we've got some green. And when we get green, I get messages of people wanting a video. And I'm a man of the people, so here we are. Let's look at the charts and see what we're going to expect for the rest of the week. All right, we're going to do psychedelic first because they've been showing some life a couple days in advance. So fundamentally, what's going on? GHRS had positive phase 2 results for one of their things. So that led to a bump across the sector. And then, of course, you got RFK Jr. passing the Senate Banking Committee, I think was the vote. And now we are moving towards an actual vote from the Senate. And right now, the betting markets have about a 95% chance that he's going to get affirmed as the head of the HHS. And there's about $2+ million on that. So it's notable just in the sense that, you know, if there's $15,000 of volume, I don't care what those probabilities say, but there's enough volume that showing that people have some conviction that he's going to go through. Also, with regards to HHS, you know, what can RFK Jr. do for cannabis versus psychedelics? There's more hope in the psychedelic sector. Cannabis potentially remains in the hands of the DEA with regards to rescheduling and things like that. So that's something to be aware of as well. So GHRS here, again, mentioned, we were up 90% the other day, big gap up open. They did just price previously announced dilution. And guess what the price was? $15. So market settling right there. Daily high or low will be the most likely scenario overall. Obviously a huge move getting to the highest prices that we've seen in a couple of years, but anticipating that we're now going to digest for a while. You know, we'll find a daily high or low, we'll likely bounce and form a lower high, and we'll tighten up. When you see new price discovery like this, the supply and demand has to balance out for a bit and find an acceptable new price level. But that was a boost for the psychedelic sector. So I've been focusing more on the psychedelic sector the last couple of days. And ATAI was the name I was interested in. Why? Because its weekly chart was very, very clear. This is just an equilibrium that's been tightening up. This is one of my bread and butter patterns in markets. And we just got really tight and the bull break was at 191. Make sure you're following us on Twitter. I was posting about this yesterday morning when we were at 195, $2. And we've seen a good bit of follow through from that. And my thesis, just to give you a little glimpse into my brain, is okay, clear pattern. I'm looking for a bull break of this pattern. This was the day before there was going to be a vote on RFK Jr. And so I'm in the back of my mind, I'm saying, okay, well, I did just take a gamble on the Florida vote, risking profits, took a solid hit in terms of giving back profits. And, do I want to do that again? All right, well, I'm going to swing Monday night because I'll at least have a half an hour to see how Tuesday morning goes before the vote takes place. And look at the volume. So the volume was 6.77 million. The average 20-day volume was 1.7 million. And so we're multiple hundreds of percent over the average volume. And then I look back and say, okay, when we've had comparable volume, how often do we get follow through? Here was a big volume day, we got follow through. Here was a big volume day, we got follow through. And here was a big volume day where we did not get follow through the next day. And so I say, all right, 2 out of 3 times we've seen this kind of volume. 3 out of 4, here's another one, got follow through the next day. 3 out of 4 times we've had this high volume, we've gotten follow through. All right, I'll give it a shot. And then, of course, we follow through and get over resistances, break out on the weekly time frame, and we put up the highest share volume ever in the history of the stock. That's definitely significant. That stands out as a good thing when it's green. So we get even more follow through today. So I am not using large positions. I never do with these sectors because their volatility is more significant. But I'm treating this as short-term mindset as far as, take a little profit into momentum, lock it in, get your cost basis nice and low, and then let a runner play out. So at this point, I have a small remaining position on ATAI. And, my break even is down in the 140s probably just because I make an entry, 180s or 190, and then I sell partial and at 215, whatever. I'm just making up those numbers. My entry was before the resistance break, but fully comfortable now just to let it ride a bit. So what do we need from here? Well, ATAI key resistance is 264 and then 285. 285 is the level. Why? That's the highest level we've hit in years. If we break that level, it's a significant shift underway. You look at the long-term chart here. This is a 3-month time frame. Nothing but sell-off to the all-time low. Then we were down here and we had a low of 102, topped out at 285, double bottom at 103. If we do not break 285, we can remain range-bound for many months. If we break 285, we now have the first long-term uptrend ever in the history of this stock, and that is significant. What also stands out about this psychedelic move the last few days, what stands out? Same with MNMD, which we're about to look at. MNMD and ATAI, what stands out? No gap up opens. It is not common to not gap up on this very high volume. To me, when my strategy is sell gap up opens, at least partial positions, and reload consolidation. If you're not gapping up, to me, that opens the door for a more sustainable move. A very high volume move that does not gap up can follow through. And you'll see sometimes on the big board stocks, whether it's Meta or Tesla or whatever, where you'll run significantly and then it's the gap that marks that top. And I should have had one prepared here and I don't, but see if we can find an example. Nah. It definitely happens. Take my word for it. But I'm watching for a gap up. If we gap up tomorrow, I'm selling more. Absolutely, because I would look for that to potentially mark a temporary top into daily consolidation. And then these names have a bunch of space to look for a daily higher low. Is this a long-term bottom being set? Maybe. We've got a potential fundamental catalyst. We have some interest today. Twitter account Zero Hedge has 2 million followers. That's a lot for Twitter, FinTwit. And guess what time he posted? He posted about MNMD, but it was right here. It definitely shifted things. That gave ATAI a run at the end of the day, but look what it did to MNMD. If Zero Hedge posts about Tesla, he's not moving the needle. But, big volume for ATAI. $5 million is big volume for ATAI. $10 million is big volume for MNMD. And so if you're tweeting to 2 million people saying, this is a potential short, there's a high short interest, and maybe this is the next OKLO, which has been in beast mode in blue sky breakout, it's going to impact things on these small cap names. And, that led to $10 million quickly coming into MNMD, and the price shoots up 10%. So we know the perfect storm for euphoria runs is blue sky breakout. That's not happening anytime soon for any of these names, but a fundamental catalyst for some headlines and then social media attention and fervor, bringing in the volume. And so we're getting a little taste of that. So again, if ATAI gets over 285, that's a long-term bottom being set. Where's resistance after 285? Things open up massively. After 285, I would then be looking 3 psychological, but then 365 is the next resistance zone. So potential that a longer-term bottom is being set. And again, just the high volume is what is standing out. So MNMD, I was watching this pattern because I didn't have clarity. We were chopping all over the place. Breakout yesterday, follow through today. Look at the volume, all right? Huge comparative volume. The average 20-day volume is 2 million. We put up 11 million, 500% plus the average volume. We get to the highest price that we've seen in 6+ months, and it's the highest volume that we've seen in almost a year. And it's one of the highest share volume days ever, probably top 5 or so. So again, long-term, 3-month. If we break 1222, it is a 3-month continuation of an uptrend, putting in a long-term bottom. That is the most important level. So we have a most important level that must break on these names. We know a daily higher low is the most likely scenario. When we consolidate next, we've got to follow through. As we know, when these moves fade, you pop and you give it back. And ACB is going to be a perfect example of that. And it's so important to keep momentum with a higher low and higher high and a trend change. I don't care when we top out, but when we do, you've got to form a healthy daily higher low, consolidating and giving back less than 50% retracement, you do not want to give back more than half of the move. You want to set that daily high or low and follow through into continuation. So that's going to be the next most important thing. How much do we retrace once this move tops out? Can we see continuation? And if we're going to see continuation, we need some more headlines. And if we run into a Senate vote, I don't think the Senate vote for RFK Jr. is set yet at this point. But, is it going to be a sell the news event? If you told me the Senate vote is in 3 days and we have 3 more green days leading up into it, yeah, it's going to be a sell the news. But considering we don't know when it is, I don't know what the price action is going to be leading up into it. So can't say if it's a sell the news, but if the market is 95% sure that he's going to get in, that increases probabilities that it will at least be a temporary sell the news reaction. If it's a 50-50, that's when you don't get a sell the news reaction. But it's a lot higher probability than 50-50. All right, on to cannabis. Oh, let's do the other names. All right, so why am I not covering these other names? CMPS, it's making a move. It's just not as strong. We're not anywhere near 1-year highs, 6-month highs. I mean, we're not even at 2-month highs on CMPS. Could it be a laggard? Maybe, but it's not getting my attention because it's not one of the stronger technical names right now. CYBN is giving red flags. This is where you got to detach your bias. This is this is the setup, a beautiful equilibrium. This was prime for a breakout, just like ATAI weekly was. Why are we not breaking out? Keep it simple. We are not breaking out because someone is selling a lot of shares. That's it. That's why we're not breaking out. It's a red flag. Could it, save itself and recover? Sure. I'm not going to say it won't, but this is where you have to detach. If you're a CYBN diehard, you got to be looking around and saying, this is not good. This is a red flag. This should not be happening. CYBN should be trading 1150 plus right now. And it's not because someone is selling a significant amount of shares. So, if I really want to know who could potentially be selling shares, I got to read the financial statement. I got to see what the convertible debt situation is. Who gave the company a loan 6 to 12 months ago and their shares are now free trading. I don't know. I don't care. But again, I'll just go where the volume, volatility, and opportunity is. And right now, ATAI and MNMD are those names. And, you can't be looking for a GHRS daily high or low. That will be the most likely scenario, but haven't established a clear support level just yet. Right now, it's 1369. Cannabis. So cannabis, again, RFK Jr., is he going to matter? Maybe not. Right now, the fundamental things going on for cannabis are, we did get a mention in the choke point 2.0, whatever, where they're doing these hearings about the weaponization of banking access. A lot of it's geared towards crypto, but there was a mention of safe banking. There was a mention of the cannabis sector. So the cannabis bulls are really hoping that they get roped into this narrative. And, obviously we know we need the banking changes. And so hopefully, and, Trump's all about America first and all that. So do it, prove it, get us on higher exchanges. That's obviously, we still need the fundamental catalyst in cannabis, which has not happened yet, but a little bit of life. The spike in the psychedelic sectors only helps the cannabis sector, but ACB earnings. So ACB earnings were a bit of a surprise. And again, you've got this setup for a short squeeze, which is what has been happening while this stock has dropped 99.9%. This is nothing new. This is a pattern where we get a short squeeze and then bleed and give it all back, and then a short squeeze and bleed and give it all back. So is this time different? Here's a short squeeze and we bled and gave it all back. Is this time different? Well, we can't say yet, but there's nothing unusual. We can't look at this and say, this is the bottom at this point. We had a great move up. The volume signal, remember we've talked about this with CGC many times. We're actually working on creating an alert for this, but when your highest morning volume candle is not the first one, it is unusual and it is taken as a sign of strength. And so CGC does it, ACB does it, and CGC does it. The worst entry you get on that signal is 242, and we end up 15% higher from there. So I have used this on CGC as an entry signal at least 3 times, in my life where I buy that signal and look for morning momentum to continue. And the vast majority of the time it will. Obviously not every time, so you got to protect and have a game plan for if it doesn't, but it often does. So ACB, we're going to look for an hourly. Nope, we already said it. Hourly higher low 510. Key support from here. Tomorrow, key resistance is the high of the day, 569. If we break support, the move is done for now, and we'll scout a daily higher low eventually. If we hold support and break resistance, the move is not done yet, and we're then looking up at the next resistance zone. 615 to 632 is a resistance zone. If I'm going to say this is a longer term bottom being set, I need to see us top out, and we need to then confirm a daily uptrend. I need to see us top out on the weekly eventually, and then confirm a weekly uptrend. So again, it's going to take a lot of proving if this is going to be a longer term bottom. Monthly chart, anything under 720 is just a lower high. So still a ton of proving is needed. And again, my mindset, take advantage of the short-term volatility and opportunity, and that's that. I forgot to mention I did grab some ATAI, some MNMD on the end of the day consolidation. I've got a 913 break even on it, so I have a small position there to see if we can get a little more tomorrow. So ACB, CGC, again, the sector's the sector will track ACB. And then, of course, once CGC has its own earnings, then it will do its own thing. But in the meantime, ACB is now the sector leader because of this reaction, and we're going to correlate with it a good bit. But again, his CGC is coming from the all-time low. We don't have a daily uptrend. So is this move proving anything? Absolutely not. You have to see the bulls. Again, I'm just going to repeat myself. Confirm the trend change on the daily, then on the weekly. It takes days and weeks to develop if the bulls are going to prove to us that they are putting in a long-term bottom and having control, because the bears are absolutely just going to be patiently waiting to short another lower high. I would consider anything under 570, 580 a weekly lower high. Yeah, there's a couple little dinky ones on the way down, but the last clear pivot is 580, and we can go 100% from here and still form a lower high compared to that level. The other names, TLRY, again, big upper wick, profit taking. There's nothing changing on this chart at this point. Cron, a little bit more volume. And again, there's just so much work that has to be done on these cannabis charts that, again, it's nice for short-term trading. It's short-term opportunity. And this is why you've got to be taking some profit into these moves that are counter trend, have nice short-term momentum. You've got to take partial profit into these moves to protect yourself if you want to let a longer-term position try and play out. MSOS is the same thing. We were watching this daily falling wedge. Falling wedge is when you break support with no follow-through, and it was just a slow bleed, and eventually you get, this is the same thing. This is choppy bear control with nothing going on, bull break. Can we confirm the daily uptrend? No. Give it all back. Let's do it again. Choppy, nothing going on, bear control, bull break. Is this something changing? We got to confirm the daily uptrend, which failed to happen last time. Got to happen this time. There was a nice big bid support that walked things up today from 370s to 380s. It was about $1 million worth, and it was just nice to see. It was 350,000 shares, and it was at 375, and then it moved to 377, and then it moved to 380. So it was someone trying to get filled, but someone also sold $1 million to them. So keep that in mind as well. The most important resistance for me in the short term is 413. If we don't break that level, it's just another weekly lower high. What have we not seen? Since the vote, we have not seen a clear daily uptrend. So if anything's going to be different, give me a clear daily uptrend. Give me multiple green days. All right, we've got them. Increasing bull volume, great. We've got it. Then give me a confirmed daily uptrend for continuation. If you do not do that, we're going to give it back. So it's all about 413 resistance. And keep in mind that even if we do things on the daily and the weekly, we're just going to zoom out, and anything under 792 will just be a monthly lower high. When you're in a downtrend on every single time frame, it takes a very long time to regain those trends for the bulls. It's one time frame at a time. We're on the daily right now. And bulls want to keep that volume coming in. And when we lose it, again, I get just as much information during consolidation as I do from bull moves as to whether or not the move is believable. retracement size, volume during the consolidation? Can we create the higher low pivot and change the trends? So the psychedelic sector has a lot less proving to do for the bulls than the cannabis sector has to do right now. And so my attention is a bit, same thing, trading a little MSOS, just locking in little wins, but my attention will remain. I believe there's more opportunity in psychedelics because of where they stand technically speaking, and because the potential of the big shift, the sexy headlines for cannabis were back when states were legalizing for the first time. Yes, we can get sexy headlines with an uplisting or a federal move, but I think it's easier to get a sexy headline in the psychedelic space. And just because it's more new and exciting as far as, okay, a big shift potentially underway, and what's RFK Jr. going to do with the sector that he has spoken positively about. But again, just overhead supply. Yes, there's a bunch of overhead supply of people underwater in psychedelic names as well. But again, MNMD, if we get over 1222, which is a big if, still got a ways to go. But if we get to the highest price since October 2022, what would that be like for MSOS? Where were we in October of 2022? The answer is we were up at 1313. So we need a 300% move just to get to something comparable. So it's a very different setup for both sectors. Again, short squeeze, potentially. That's what ACB was today, is a short squeeze. And so some shorts are covering out there in everything. We'll see how long it can last. But take partial profits. If you're fortunate enough to have some partial profits, if you're, had capital around interacting on this move, take some GD profit into this move so you are in full control of the trade and in the driver's seat. So even if we pull back 30% from wherever we top out on this move, you are still sitting pretty uncomfortable. And we'll just take it one day at a time. I'm not going to try and predict where we're heading from here over the next month, because that would be just me pulling things out of my what. That's not how I do things. I react. I do things one day at a time. Nice to have some life in the sector, but a ton of proving is still needed. Appreciate you watching. Thanks for likes and shares. Do good things.